Hi, Ellen.
Hi. Is that worked?
Hi, Catherine. Yes, it's worked.
Phew!
Great. Lovely
That's
to
the
see
only.
you on here.
Sorry.
Lovely to see you on here.
Great. Lovely to see you too. That's the hard bit done.
Yes,
Now I can relax.
yes, definitely. So, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yes, not too bad, thanks. It's quite late where I am here.
Is it?
Um,
Yeah.
yes, but it's my sort of highlight of the day, sort of time.
I know the feeling. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So, shall we crack on?
Absolutely. Let's go for it.
So, my first, let me introduce Catherine first. So we are extremely honored today to have Catherine joining our New Talent live chats. And Catherine has huge experience in music and music education, is a very well respected figure. So I'm personally extremely excited to hear what she has to say on a lot of different areas today. So I'm really looking forward to it. Um, so Catherine is the artistic director of NCO, the National Children's Orchestra of Great Britain. So Catherine, could you maybe start by telling us about how NCO has been dealing with the coronavirus, how it's still engaging its young performers during this time, please?
Well, of course, coronavirus, or the lockdown really came right before we were supposed to be running our Easter courses, which was desperately sad. So we left it as late as we possibly could, crossing our fingers that something might happen before we actually, unfortunately, had to cancel the activity at Easter. And we've since then had to cancel the activity in the summer as well, which has also been a very heart-wrenching and difficult thing, an upsetting thing for us all to do, and for all our children, I think. But in that process, what I think has been really important is to keep really open and really communicating with everybody and consulting with the children and the families to make sure that we're doing the very best that we can and helping them in every way that we can. But the most exciting thing, like you were saying, your Thursday night highlight is our Wednesday night highlight rather, is our Friday night highlight, which is our webinars that we launched right at the beginning of April. And one of the amazing things about this time is that so many artists and musicians are free because they're not being able to perform. So we've managed to really recruit an amazing lineup of musicians to have conversations with. So the NCO children can join and they type questions to us. And they also vote on different things. So we find out some little secrets about the guests that we've had on. So we've had Sheku and Jess Gillum and Sarah Willis and Jonathan Kelly from the Berlin Phil. We've had guests from the LSO. And all these webinars are now on YouTube for everybody to watch. So it's live just for NCO children, but then they're totally available to the public. So I think there's 11 now out there on the NCO's YouTube channel. And we've got 3 more planned, I think, coming up. We've got composers this week, Sam Thompson and Anna Meredith. And then, very excited, the following week, we're being joined by 2 kind of athlete and a sports psychologist to talk about how sport and music are connected and what we can learn from athletes. And then on the 29th of June, we've got one with stars from the Royal Opera House, so soprano and one of the orchestral musicians. So it's been really exciting and interesting to curate a kind of whole new strand of activity that we never would have had time to do. So that's the major thrust at the moment. We've also been signposting our children and anybody else to other activity because there's a lot going on. So the Benedetti sessions or the Jess Gillum's virtual orchestra, those kind of things, we've been helping to signpost things for our children. And then we're now putting together a digital membership for NCO, which will be something that goes on forever now, probably will be part of our lives forever. And that will be launched in July and the beginning of August for any children of our membership that want to join. And then it'll be something again that's available more widely after that. So a lot going on. I mean, it's busy, even though we're not actually running courses at the moment.
Yes, wow, that sounds so exciting, and it sounds, I'm very jealous of the young musicians at NCO. It definitely sounds like they're being kept busy and with really good quality training as well. So out of that, I'm really interested in the sports and music connection. because I think we've sort of in the AY Academy, we've sometimes talked to our students about how, you know, we're like sports people, musicians, how we should learn from, let's say, tennis players, how they use their muscles, the accuracy, etc. Fascinating. So I'll make sure to tune into that video on YouTube afterwards. So what is the membership about?
Of NCO?
Yeah.
Yeah, our membership is, we have 727 members. Our current membership all auditioned last October. We have auditions every year, but this year we're having to roll over our membership into next year. So there will be a few auditions this year, but probably not as many as we would have had if there hadn't been the COVID crisis. And they are aged from 7 to about 15 now. Some of them, we say 7 to 14 when they audition, but most of them would be 15 by now. And they're divided into national orchestras and regional orchestras. So we have 5 national orchestras and 6 regional orchestras around the country. So there's a big, it's a lot bigger. I think when people think of National Children's Orchestra, they think of one, but actually it's orchestras. And there are in fact 11. So it's a big organization.
Well, and it must be a huge amount of work that's gone into it for switching everything onto online platform and trying to find new sources.
It's a big amount of work, and some of the staff, the office staff, are furloughed, like in other organisations. So they're on the job retention scheme in the UK, which is very helpful for us financially, but logistically and operationally, it means that the rest of us are running harder and harder and harder to try and deliver everything that we want, and keep it all going, really. Yeah,
well, I really admire your work, and of course I follow on social media, etc. I follow what NCO does. It's really amazing, and because we now have to do all these things online as well, you know, involving, for example, our live chats. So I can see how much work that must be. So as a musician, as well as an educator yourself, because of the coronavirus and because of lockdown and all the travel restrictions, so now suddenly a lot of young musicians find that they have a lot of free time on their hands. Do you have any advice on how they should be using this time, how they could be efficiently using this time to improve themselves?
Well, it's, in a way, this time is a bit of a gift because we don't have to go anywhere. We don't waste any time traveling. We're not toing and froing to anything. So it gives you a real focus for your practice, and it makes it very easy to practice. You know, you don't no longer have to get up really early in the morning to practice. You can fit things more comfortably into your day. So practicing and being really organized about practice, I think, is really key. Making sure that you plan what you practice, you know why you're practicing it, you can measure the results of the practice, you work out what you've achieved today so that then you pick up from there tomorrow. So being quite methodical and taking the time to kind of really think about how you're practicing. Obviously, a lot of teachers are offering online lessons, which is brilliant, and they got off to a really quick start, I think, compared to other industries and other teaching areas, that actually running music lessons online is quite manageable. I mean, it's different, but it's very possible. So and so there's lots of teachers out there offering lessons, probably your own teachers, but also in a wider pool of people. There's also people have time at the moment. So if there's anything you've ever wanted to ask a great musician, you know, get in touch with them, because they've got time now that they never had before. So if you want to find a mentor or a slightly older player that you aspire to be like, why not drop them a line? You know, everybody's flattered if you're contacted in that way. So why not? Obviously, you can create your own music. That's a really good use of your time. The multi-tracking, you know, ways of layering yourself on top of yourself to create little sort of musical postcards is something we'll be hosting on our digital membership, and hopefully something that children can do. There's also a lot of things to access on the internet. There's the Berlin Phil's Digital Concert Hall, which is a massive archive of resources to watch. There's also the London Symphony Orchestra have something called LSO Play, which is a really fun way you can kind of interact with the orchestra and get different camera angles on concerts and things like that. People are curating nice playlists so that you know, if you're interested in something, there might be a way of working out what else you might be interested in through a playlist. And then obviously just creating your own concerts. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
can play on your drive, can't you? You can play to people going past. You can sort of busk anywhere. So there is lots of opportunity. It's just thinking differently and making it for yourself. And I think that's quite a positive learning skill in a way, to think as a musician, my job, my passion is to share the music that I love. So how can I do that now? And there's lots of opportunity, I think.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the advice. So, as a musician, Catherine, because you're also a violinist at the CBSO, the City of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra, what has the orchestra been doing during this time to try to keep engaged with its audience?
Well, it's very tricky for the CBSO because it's a technical thing that we are contracted, we are employed, which means that the musicians have all been furloughed, which means we can't technically do any work in any capacity for the CBSO. So we can't create content for them. We can't post on social media and tag them in. And so that's been a really tough thing for us, because I think the players really feel like we want to be, you know, sharing our passionate love for our organization with the world, but we can't. We're kind of sitting on our hands until the moment that we can. So that's a slight frustration, but there's we're staying in touch a lot with each other. Some people are doing their own social media that they're sharing themselves. We created a little street orchestra, my family and various other families around here, and we're playing on Thursday evenings after the NHS clap. So that there are things going on, but I think the orchestra itself is sort of almost in shutdown at the moment, waiting for this moment that we can start to bubble up. And we will come back, I think, fairly soon in small groups and with some streaming. And we have our own centre, the CBSO Centre. So even if Symphony Hall isn't open, we've got a venue, a small scale venue, to start doing education concerts or other smaller scale things. So it will be really exciting when we can start to make music again together.
Yes, yes. So, but I know that you have this string quartet called Stringcredibles, which you form with other CBSO musicians. Are you keeping active with that? And could you tell us more about what it does?
Yeah, well, so Stringcredibles is a quartet that we kind of dedicated to not playing in concert halls. So we always kind of set ourselves a challenge of playing where people aren't expecting you, if you like. So it might be going into schools or playing in community settings or other museums or art galleries or those kind of places where it's still a sort of venue as a way, in a way, but it's not a concert hall. And in doing that, you have to think differently about how you communicate and connect with your audience. So the main kind of drive of the Stringcredibles is to work out how classical music can connect as widely as possible to as broad an audience as possible. And that's to do with how you program, how you present yourself, how you pitch what you're doing, how your body language, your public speaking, all those things are a huge part of performance. So that's where our focus is. And at the moment, just before lockdown, we were about to start to create this online learning platform, which was fortuitous. So at the moment, we're creating that content. And Amy Thomas, who's our viola player, is an amazing, she's brilliant with green screen and all sorts of video editing and crazy stuff. And she's learning loads of new skills. So we hopefully our learning platform is going to be super fun once we've managed to record everything. And we can't actually be together in person yet. So we're planning it and looking at the structures the things we want to talk about and things we want to share. So that'll be a tool actually eventually for anybody that wants to learn how to present and perform in a more compelling way, basically.
Yes, because I know from personal experience that presenting a concert as well as performing is a great skill. And it doesn't, for me, it didn't come natural. I found it really difficult, especially I found it particularly difficult when it's a younger audience, because you have to try really hard to always be pulling them in and their attention. Yeah.
There's a lot more work that goes into it, a lot more thought that goes into it. And that's one of the things that we've got some Stringcredible apprentices, and that's the main thing that we talk to them about, is that you must practice your delivery and your presentation and that thought process as much as you practice your music, because it's not something that you could just rock up and do. It's something you have to have thought about, and you have to have you know, found a way to make it work.
Yes, no, it's really fantastic work, and I think your other violinist, Bryony Morrison, she
Yeah.
was at NYO with me.
Oh, right.
Yes, no, she's fantastic. Yes. No, so to our audience, please go and check out String Incredible's work. They really do a lot of, especially community, getting classical music to the wider crowd. They do amazing work there. So one of the questions I always wanted to ask Catherine was, because you sit on so many auditions, especially through your work with the NCO, you probably see the growth and development of a lot of young musicians. If there is one piece of advice that you could give these young musicians on when they're young and when they are perhaps not so sure about how long they want to continue with their music studies, when they find it difficult to continue, what would your advice be? How do you think they could help themselves to keep going?
To stay motivated and stay excited about it.
Yeah.
I think quite often playing in the ensembles is the thing that keeps people going, and actually finding ways of making music, and it's hard at the moment, I know, but making music with other people is the most rewarding thing. So finding any opportunities that you can to do that. I think listen to as much music as you can widely. Listen to people, listen and watch videos of people that inspire you, and that you would like to emulate. And they don't have to necessarily be musicians that play your instrument. They can be great singers or great pianists if you're a violinist, you know, or amazing composers, or just open your ears and open your eyes. And sometimes, you know, you don't want to practice, and that's fine. You know, it doesn't have, you know, there can be moments in your life where you think, actually, I need a bit of a break from this. I'm going to, you know, do a bit more sport, or I'm going to do a bit more jigsaws, or whatever it is you're going to do a bit more of, and then come back to it with a freshness. Because I think if you are feeling frustrated and a bit demotivated, then sometimes you just need a little break, and then come back with renewed passion.
Yes, great advice. And also, what do you advise people to do if they have a recorded audition or a recorded competition? For example, this year our competition will be a recorded one. Mm-hmm. How do you think they could present themselves the best in a recording?
Well, that's really interesting, because we did, for NCO last year, we did our first lot of recorded auditions. People sent their videos in for the auditions, and I watched 1,100 videos of all different instruments, of kids from all over the country. The things that stand out, you know, beyond the sort of given around, you know, being able to play your piece well and confidently and being well prepared and all that stuff is crucial, and that's your sort of bedrock. Know what you're doing. The things that come across really well, I think, are showing us who you are a little bit. So I love the ones where they introduce the pieces, maybe share something a little bit personal, not too personal, but a little bit about why you've chosen to play it. And it comes across much better if you're not reading it off a script. If you're able to just speak, or just speak to some sort of small bullet points to say, well, I'm so and so and so, and I love this piece because it makes me think of this, this, and this, and then it engages us with your performance. And then I think the things that stand out as well are just trying to be a little bit individual in some way. What do you bring to this piece that somebody else might not bring? What does it mean to you? What are you telling me with this piece? What's the message behind it? And not just, I can play this well and that's look how I nailed that shift and wasn't that great. It was actually, well, why was that shift there, and what was the point, and what are you telling us with it? So those are the ones that jump out for me, are the ones that sort of grab you and think, God, this person's got something to say now, you know.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful. I'm sure our young musicians, and also because now so many things have moved online, I think ABRSM exams and all that. So I think it's great tips for those. So Catherine, do you have any questions for me?
About the competition?
Yeah.
Or just generally about life?
Or generally
well,
about
where
life.
are you? And tell me how your life is going.
So I'm in Bali at the moment, Bali, Indonesia.
Wow.
I came over to be with my fiance during the lockdown, and at times it didn't seem to be the right decision for him or for me. But now I think, now it's been what, 3 months now. So I think if I were in lockdown by myself, I would be not very well,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, psychologically.
Logically, yeah.
But so that's that. But even here, we have quite a few cases of the coronavirus. So we're also practicing social distancing, staying at home. Our outing probably once a week is to McDonald's.
Oh, wow.
Very exciting.
Goodness me. It's a
Yeah.
strangely unifying thing, though, isn't it, across the world? My son is dyslexic, and he's in a dyslexic academy, and the tutors are in the Philippines. And so we log on with them every week. And, it's always the middle of night for them and crazy things. But, they're in exactly the same strange
Yeah.
world
Yeah.
situation that we're in.
Yes. So I think it's just trying to have a healthy sleeping pattern is quite hard.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I also learned quite a lot as well during this time, about myself, about what I do, and I came to the conclusion that I really enjoy what I do, even if it's really hard work. But it gives me great sense of happiness, and it just feels right.
Mhm.
So I'm also thankful to have this period of time to be able to do some thinking and to really feel. Yes. And Catherine, what did you during this time? Have you sort of personally discovered anything that you might want to keep going afterwards?
I think one of the things that's been strange is that in this time I've been very much involved in process and planning, a very thoughtful kind of method behind the actual activity. And when there isn't enough activity, then I feel quite frustrated. So finding I'm not a natural sort of planner 24/7. That's not me. I mean, I can do it, but I like to do it to a very clear end goal and end result. So that's why the live stuff, the webinars, have given me something of that buzz of a performance in a way, even though you can't see who it's kind of weird, this kind of things. You can't see who you're talking to, and you get no feedback, and other than seeing people popping up who are joining, but you can't really see anything beyond that. So I think finding that, I know that I need that kind of buzz of something live, something a little bit risky in a funny sort of way, like live is, something in the moment that gives you a sort of sense of achievement in a way. So I have enjoyed that, but I've also enjoyed having the time and basically not going too many places. I mean, I rush around crazily most of my life. So actually being still in the house, you get to achieve a whole lot, really.
Yeah. And also during this time, I find that it's much easier now to reach out to people. Like you said earlier about to young musicians that if they ever want to get in touch with someone, it's the time now because
Yeah.
they have time. So that's what I found that, now if I email someone and just say that, can we have a Zoom meeting? And it just seems everything's so much easier around the world. Yeah.
Well, people are just used to Zoom now. I mean, I always worked remotely for NCO anyway, but now it's like there's not a question of not connecting by Zoom, and I think we'll save a whole lot of time. Now people are totally comfortable with it. Because I live in Birmingham, and a lot of music education organisations are in London. There was always that expectation that the meeting would always be in London, which would take my whole day basically, because I've got to spend 3 hours getting there and 3 hours getting back. So actually now I've got 6 hours more in my day because I'm not late. So that's
Fantastic.
great. Yeah.
No, so when you mentioned the online membership of NCO, and you mentioned that might be something that NCO will want to keep even when we return back to the sort of normal state. Could you sort of expand on that a little bit more? Because I'm really interested in discovering sort of all these online things and see how sort of the online platforms can stick. So what do you envisage the online platforms to have, even when, we can be in person?
Well, I mean, it's clear that it can't replace making music in person. So what it will be, I think, is a kind of support learning tool, but also a kind of a social support. So, for example, we know that if you're coming on a course at NCO and you're only 9 and you're going on a residential course and you don't know anybody, that's quite scary. And it takes a certain type of kid to actually want to do that and be brave enough to do that. So how could we use digital to help them meet people in advance, so that when they come, they know other people, to meet other like-minded children, because that's another thing, that our kids really enjoy, meeting kids that are similar and interested in similar things. So can it be a kind of more socially sort of cohesive tool to kind of bring people together? But then there's also, we have to prepare quite a lot of material before the courses, so digital will be a really good way of maybe having pre-course sectionals, or meeting your tutor before the course, so that you come super prepared. So then we can actually work more. We're not doing too much learning there, we're actually working on evolving it and developing it and characterizing it and all the things that make it more exciting, because we've kind of learnt it in advance. So I think those are the way, and it will help us keep in touch as a bigger community. It might help us be a bit more year round, because the courses were very much Easter and summer. So actually, if we've got digital, it could be that we stay in touch through the year a little bit more, which might be a valuable and fun thing to do. So there's a lot we could, and I think it will just keep evolving as the technology evolves, as we get more comfortable with it. And then, with the digital platform, where I'm about to kind of hand it over to a lot of our tutors to run with the ideas, and that's a really exciting moment, where it's like those one of the buzzy moments where you think, what will they come back with? What will they create that I wouldn't have thought of? And similarly with the children, what will they then take this tool now and run with? And because child voice is a very important part of what we do at NCO. So making sure that the children, shape it in some way going forward, and have that kind of that autonomy in the way that we envision and deliver things.
Fascinating. I just find this whole situation, even though of course it's a devastating situation for all of us, but at the same time, I guess the silver lining is that all this online thing, all this virtual thing, if we can find a way to really make it work and combine the sort of offline aspect of things, it could be quite exciting for the future.
Yeah, it's certainly a tool to be used now in a way that people are comfortable with it, in a way that they wouldn't have been had we not had this moment.
Definitely. Yes. Great. So, well, Catherine, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
We're so honored to have a piece of your mind today.
Well, I hope it was helpful and enjoyable.
Yes, very much so. Yes, so we will be uploading this onto our IGTV, so the audience can access after the live as well.
Brilliant. Great.
Thank you so much for your time today, Catherine.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye. Bye, everybody. Bye.